Good morning.
Good morning, afternoon.
Evening.
Afternoon.
Wherever you're watching from on replay, whatever time of day it is that you're doing this.
Yeah,
Welcome.
I got it. I got itch.
You're just gonna have a little bit of a bear
Sorry.
moment. Are you like in a forest right now? I'm a bear in a forest.
As soon as it went on, I was like, "Oh, what's that?"
Good morning, Annie.
Hope it's not a spider.
Stop it.
Good morning, Annie.
Listen to this guy speaking nightmares. Well, it is Tuesday. It is our first day of our discussion this week, all about making our way back from heart disease.
Good morning, Monica.
Good morning, Monica. And if there wasn't a better person here than Annie Wright. Annie Wright making her way back from heart disease. I feel like I just sang the theme song to like Laverne and Shirley. We're gonna do it.
It sounded more 90s when you did that.
That's true. It was a little bit more, yeah. Anyway, I'm in a great mood this morning. Can you tell? So today we're talking about that. And it's
Let's move our mic a little bit.
So we can hear me.
Yeah.
So this week's all about a new day, a new us. Good morning, Tony.
Good morning.
What's up? So as people just come in, hang out. It's going to be a good day.
Yeah.
So the first thing I want to let you know is there is a link that you should be aware of. It is our devotional link. Make sure you check that description. If you want to follow along on the YouVersion Bible app, make sure to click that link. It's going to take you directly to the app so you can download it in case you haven't already, or on the desktop version, it'll just take you to the website, but you will get directly taken to this devotional. So whatever week we're doing, it's always the devotional that we're on. So you don't have to try to search for it, so you can follow along.
Yeah, I thought you still had something to go.
And go.
Don't you have something else to say?
No, I don't.
No. Okay. Hey, so if you are new to our broadcast, I just wanted to welcome you. I wanted to welcome everybody to our broadcast this morning. This week, I'm really looking forward to this week. I think God's going to really speak to us. Mm-hmm. But if this is your first time and you don't know us, my name is Javie.
I'm Jessica.
And we are with Underdog Ninja. Here at Underdog Ninja, we stand for three things. That is faith, character, and action. Now, why is that? Why is it faith, character, and action? And what do we do here? What are we doing in this broadcast? Well, every Tuesday through Saturday, we start with our faith part, that foundational part. Mm-hmm. We believe that faith is the very thing that's going to help us lead to the other thing, the character piece and the action piece. All these elements are key to fighting this disease, mm-hmm. key to just fighting the things that happen to us with this disease on a daily basis, despite what's going on around us. And it gives us perspective. It gives us, clarity. So again, we're here Tuesday. I always want to say Monday, Tuesday through Saturday. Doing these devotionals alongside you. Mm-hmm. And we do these devotionals in a different way. It's not that we just read through a devotional or some scripture and then let you go. We give you our opinion. We give you what I believe what God speaks through us and wants to share with us all, mm-hmm. in a perspective that helps us through the struggles that we face. And so I think it's a unique approach. I think we've gotten over this past year. We've gotten a lot of good feedback, mm-hmm. and that's why we continue to do that. Yeah. Well, this is why we continue to deliver it this way. I think it's more dynamic. So if you're interested, stick around.
That's right. So you ready to jump in?
Yeah.
Day one, let's do it. Okay, so today we're talking about but God. So we've all heard that, this situation is horrible, but God, right? So just keep that in mind as we're talking about our old selves, our old lives, and then the new us and the new day that's coming, especially when we're dealing with heart disease. What we most deeply desire as human beings is something people characterize as very Christian. That is because God has put a thumbprint on every human life. We have been created for God and by God. We are never going to be satisfied with anything less than God. Therefore, our deepest desires are not desires for sin. They are desires for the things of God. We are born in sin, but when we accept Jesus into our lives, Jesus into our lives, when we embrace the new life he brings within, we begin living new lives as new men and women in Christ. We stop walking like sinful creatures and accept the new life, new hearts, and new minds that God gives us. I apologize in advance for my mouth not working today. When we start walking with God, we are changed. We can all live lives of sin and be far away from God, but God shows up and he changes everything. But God is such a powerful phrase. It is what changes all things in our lives. When God shows up, he makes a difference. He comes and makes us new so we can start walking in a new way. We can live our lives minding our own business, worrying about things our way, living dark and meaningless lives, but God shows up and he makes everything different. He turns our lives upside down and gives us purpose, a new life, a new way of walking, and a new way of seeing life. God shows up and nothing stays the same. He changes our old self for a new one, our old way of walking for a new way of walking. He leads us into a new life. That is the truth. That is Jesus. This is the truth of the cross. Christ dying for our sins, for our old man, and resurrecting into a new man, transforming us into new men and women through his sacrifice. When that but God moment comes, nothing can stay the same. But God changes the course of our lives forever. As we begin to live new lives as new men and women, God transforms our way of thinking. We begin to see things differently. We begin to speak differently, and we treat people differently because we start seeing things the way God sees them. I pray while reading this devotional, your but God moment comes and changes your life forever. Ephesians 4:21-24 says, since you have heard about Jesus and have learned the truth that comes from him, throw off your old sinful nature and your former way of life, which is corrupted by lust and deception. Instead, let the Spirit renew your thoughts and attitudes. Put on your new nature, created to be like God, truly righteous and holy. Romans 6:6 says, we know that our old sinful selves were crucified with Christ so that sin might lose its power in our lives. We are no longer slaves to sin. So with heart disease, in going through this type of situation or experience, this is talking about when God comes into our lives, this old us goes away and the new us is reborn with Christ. But I think there's a whole other set of experiences when it comes to something like when we face our mortality. If you have already welcomed God into your life and you live and walk with God, and then heart disease happens, you do go through, would you agree, another level of this? It's not hey, and I don't want to minimize salvation, but it's not just, hey, I've decided to walk with God. I've decided to accept Christ. I've decided to be a new person and let God work in my life. And I'm kind of getting the option to choose whether I'm going to do this and choose this, and I'm in control, and so I'm accepting God and I'm making these changes, and God's making changes in my life, and it's amazing. But when your mortality is thrust upon you, and all of a sudden you have to start contemplating death and eternity and all these things, there are emotions and realizations and things that we have to contemplate that we don't get to choose. It just happens.
Well, I think what happens too, and this is for everyone, whether you are, you've accepted God in your life or not. When you're faced with your mortality, all of it becomes real. Before that, you're just going about your day to day. You're not, maybe you understand that, especially living your life for Christ, you understand that, and you believe that you have eternal life. You believe that God is working in your life, and God is moving and doing all these things for you. But you kind of get lulled to sleep. You kind of get, you don't see the importance in everyday things. You don't see the importance in the precious moments that you have with your family and your friends around you. You get lulled to sleep. But when you're faced with your mortality, all that, like you said, is thrust upon you. And you really start contemplating, well, wait a second, this could happen very quickly.
Yeah,
And
I have to make
and
decisions. Yeah.
there's been times where, I think there's times I've looked at you and said things to you that I needed to say very quickly because I didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah, those are really
those are
weird
very,
moments.
those are very, those are very real and uncomfortable moments. But afterwards, after, I've been blessed many times that God has saved me through this. But each time I've tried to see the lesson in it. What can I take from it? How could I be better? How could I be a better husband? How could I be a better father? How could I be a better friend?
Mm-hmm.
I try to find ways to live my life better. And I think really, I want you to think about this week. When we're talking about the past us, we're not talking just about the person you were 10 years ago, the person you were, 10 months ago, be the person you were in 2019 before 2020. Okay. Because I think 2020 just
pre-2020 us.
Right. No, this is who we were 20 minutes ago.
Yeah.
20 seconds ago. Sometimes we do things in life that we do silly things, or we don't appreciate what's going on around us. And then we get focused on that thing that we used to be. A few weeks ago, I shared that. God really was speaking to me on this very thing, where like I said, I've had this mindset of just trying to be the best person I could be. And I thought I really shed that old man, that old person I used to be. But there were things, habits that I was holding on to that God pointed out to me that were holding me back, thought processes and the way I viewed myself and the actions that I still were taking based on my past. We say things out of habit.
Yeah. Muscle memory.
And the words, we know that how words have power, and how those negative things that we speak into our lives affect us from moving forward. And that's what really God showed me a few weeks ago, and I shared with you all. But I think this week, I think he was really trying to prepare us for this moment, for this very thing. Because actually, I think we went, and this was selected weeks ago before this devotional. But yeah, when we go back to your question about when we're faced with our mortality, it does take things to a whole new level.
Yeah,
because we realize that it could happen that quick. We realize that every day that is given to us is a gift.
Absolutely.
Right?
Hey, CL's here. Good morning.
Hey, good morning,
What's
CL.
up? Glad to have you here. I want to kind of address our title, because this is talking about, to us, this really spoke to so many people trying to figure out with heart disease how to come back. And it's sort of an interesting thing. We all want to, after something like that, get back to ourselves, get back to normal. Right? When am I going to get back to my old self? When am I going to get back to normal after this? It's like with 2020. When are we getting back to normal? And what actually we really want, but we think we want to get back to something. But what we want is to move forward into something better and new. Because if we were to go back to what was, it would only cause what happened again, whether it was stress or the way we eat or our lifestyle or our mental state, or just the fact that God was causing this, or not causing, allowing this to happen in our lives, and we would go back before it, and it would happen. That our path would happen. Okay. So what are we taking that's happened and moving forward into something better and new? This is a new day. This is a new us. How do we move forward with heart disease? We titled it that way because this is what we hear so much more than anything else, is how do I get back? And it's really back from the depths that you feel like you're in,
Right.
with heart disease, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, with depression or confusion or bitterness, anger, confusion, darkness. How do I get back to positive and light and those types of things? So I understand what we mean by saying I want to get back, but I want to steer away from that and say, but how do we move forward? Because it's really what we want. We want to get out of this and move forward. And knowing with heart disease, there's no getting out of it. We know that deep down, that's why it's so hard. You know, this is what you're going to have now. Okay. But I think people don't understand or don't know, and that's what we're here for, is to help walk you through that it's possible. There is hope. You can live with heart disease and have an amazing life. Mm-hmm. We've seen it 1,000 times. We live that way. He's overcome heart disease, and not because it's gone, not because he never has any issues, but because we live a full, fulfilling, meaningful life, more so because of heart disease than anything else. So I don't ever want to go back to anything. Right? I mean, you're the one that's gone through all this. Would you say you'd ever want to go back to anything, moment, or even person that you were in the past?
Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Right. So when we're speaking about this, it's because we want to help you figure out how to move forward and what is it that God has for you in your new self, your new life. And maybe it's similar to what it was like before, but it's a new, more improved, more empowered, stronger version of you. Maybe it's completely different. Maybe you are being formed into an entirely new human being, but that isn't always bad. We get to decide. You get to decide who that person is. You are not out of control. Even with anxiety and things you don't understand, there are ways and paths through this with God, right, to understanding who he has for you to be and what he has for you to do moving forward.
This is the thing.
I wanted to bring up this. Yes, Annie, exactly. Every day is a gift. That's why it's called the present. Yeah, that's right.
Amen. I love that. Mm-hmm. But look, sometimes we find especially with fighting heart disease, we don't address the stresses in our life. Mm-hmm. The stress is a major component. That's just as bad as unhealthy nutrition.
Yeah.
Or being stagnant in your life, meaning no movement. You're not moving. You're not getting out walking. You're not getting any type of exercise. Those two things contribute to your disease. But what contributes to your disease that's not addressed most often is the stress in your life. Doctors, they'll call it anxiety, or they'll address it with
give antidepressants.
They'll give you a medication. Mm-hmm. Before trying to address some practical things in your life, there are things in your life that are causing that stress that you aren't willing to address. You're not willing to put forward and take care of it. You continue, look, we try to, I know I've done this, where I have certain things going on in my life. I give it to God and I pray about it, and I need God's help. Okay. I trust God that he'll help me with this. Yet I continue to take it back from him. Mm-hmm. I continue to take it back from him, and then I hold on to it. I hold on to it. And I start to worship it. I romanticize about it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. It becomes symbiotic with me. I can't let it go. I give it away. I'm like, give it away. But as soon as it releases from me, I'm going to snatch it back. We pick up those things in our life that continue to breed bad habits and continue to let the disease progress.
It's like smokers. Half the reason it's so hard to quit smoking, and this is coming from, I've never smoked, right? But I've seen this. I've been around smokers. And
you don't know the struggle.
You don't know me. But I mean, a million people have told me this, and I've seen it. But is that you have to have something in your hand. It's you're used to the muscle memory of the habit.
Yeah, and stress is the same thing.
Yeah, but I mean, but you're talking about the idea that you let go and then you have to grab it back. You're used to having your grip on the situation. Mm-hmm. So it's just like with, with cigarettes, it's like you're used to having that in your hand. And the idea that it's not there, you don't feel like you're in control of the situation. You don't feel like you're, it's not comfortable. It's not in your wheelhouse. It's not in your muscle memory. Yeah. And so in situations where we give it to God, that's uncomfortable. And it doesn't have anything to do with us not even trusting God, because that's what you're saying. I trust God, but I, in my flesh, in my humanity, feel like I need to grip the situation and carry it around like a badge, like a badge of honor, like a badge of guilt, or a badge of something.
And so what does it have to do with what we're talking about this week? It has everything to do with it, because we can't see ourselves without that thing, that stress, that habit in our life.
We can't see ourselves without that stress.
Because it's based on the old you, not your new, this new creation, the new you, the direction you're going. You need to give up that bad habit. You need to maybe distance yourself from those toxic people in your life that contributed to that bad habit. And look, I know it's going to be uncomfortable. I know that they may even, ridicule you.
Yeah, I mean, I've had people do the whole what we've been together or been through together, like what we've been through.
Yeah,
all this time, like you're just gonna, it's like you get guilt thrown at you when you're trying to make changes. And the reason I bring that up is because we do the same thing to ourselves. So we not only let people guilt us into not making good changes in our lives, even if it means them, especially if it means them. But we also guilt ourselves into not making changes, because who are we going to be if we're not that person? I mean, we literally say things like, I don't drink coffee anymore, but I've drank coffee my whole life and it's like part of who I am, right? It feels like I changed who I am. That is the dumbest thing in the world. It is, if you objectively look at it. Like, what are you talking about? Me drinking coffee doesn't have anything to do with who I am. But I understand. It feels like I'm just trying to pick on a little thing, because a little thing we do that with. And meaning we also do that with the big things, for sure. My identity is that this is who I am to this person. So not only do we not get rid of the toxic relationship, we continue in who we are for them. Enabling. Oh my gosh, it's a toxic cycle. Well, so we don't get rid of these things.
Yeah.
We just continue in the comfort and the familiar zone.
Exactly. And look, I can't say this enough. Quit passing the buck. This may seem a little harsh to you guys, but you have to take responsibility. We all have to take a responsibility for ourselves. You have to take responsibility for your own health. Mm-hmm. If you want to beat this, if you want to see that life that God has for you, that future God has for you, you first have to take responsibility of your own self. Quit passing the buck. What do I mean by that? I mean, you have control of yourself. You have control of your decisions. You have control of your thoughts, of
your reactions.
Is it based on the old you? Mm-hmm. Are these friendships or these relationships you have, are those based on the new you? Or are they going to accept the new direction you're going? Now, look, I understand some of our relationships. They're very complicated. Okay, mm-hmm. But there's still things that God could help you through in these, say, a marriage or a close relationship. Right. Hey, how about your children? Sometimes we have the conflict within the family. I'm not talking about just, your neighbor.
Right.
Okay. But even the complicated relationships, we have to be willing to give it fully to God and to allow him to take control of that situation, to lower your stress. Because look, stress is going to affect your disease. Stress will allow this disease to progress, and it's going to keep you from your future. It's going to keep you and blind you for what God has for you. Does it seem like sometimes God's not answering you, or you can't seem to understand which ends up?
Yeah. That's
because you really need to examine where you are. What do I need to control? What can I do? What do I need to give up?
Right.
Because once you make that step and you identify that, Then you have to walk in obedience. Then you have to put that into action. Once you do those things, I can't tell you how many times this has happened to me. Once I'm obedient, once I identify that thing, look, there has been things in my life I didn't want to give up. There are things that in my life that were symbiotic with who I was. I didn't want to let that go, but I had to trust him. It didn't make sense, but I had to trust God and be obedient. And every time I've done that, he has blessed me with
things we didn't even expect.
Well, he's blessed me with his vision. Being able to see things the way he sees it, and in ways that I would never have saw coming. Right.
Well, he gives you his perspective. His viewpoint. That leads me to what I was going to talk about was a couple of things. One is you're talking about boundaries. We're not talking about throw everything in the trash can. And I mean, like get rid of your kids because they're stressful. Like obviously not. Go to your room and
don't blame me for that.
No, but it is because everybody, we have a lot of questions that come in like, well, what about this? What about when my husband isn't on board? What about when my kids are stressful? I mean, I've been in, I had a lady tell me yesterday, I've been in cardiac rehab. And they're just talking about all this stuff that only applies to older people. I have 2 small children at home. I'm just supposed to avoid stress? Please. Right? But it's not just about avoiding stress. Avoiding stress doesn't mean getting rid of all the stressful things in your life all the time. Sometimes it is what it is. You have kids. You have a stressful job. You have a career that's what it is. And maybe it's an important career you love, but it's a stressful job because it has pressure, whatever it may be. So it's all about you have control over you. And then when you're walking with God, he exponentially multiplies, right? The favor and the protection over you. If you're being obedient and you're walking with him. And then we're talking about boundaries. So he creates a boundary for you, but also you need to create boundaries for yourself. So we often don't in these relationships, in these stressful situations, in these new I'll bring this back around in a second to this entire devotional, why we want to focus on the way we want to focus on it this week. But when you're having issues with these boundaries, just understand that I know there's other people involved. I know there's situations you feel like you can't control involved, but the boundaries are for you and for your interaction and reaction to those people and to those situations. So you have control over how you interact in these things, how you interact with people. Hey, good morning.
Good morning, Mom.
Annie says, I see that almost every day now. Yeah. And there's so much clarity. I know for you, Annie, that was never there before. And you just see things in a completely different way that you're like, I never saw it that way. And that's such an amazing thing from God for sure. And from your experience. But when we're talking about boundaries, it's also just for us. Maybe it's not with other people. It's just boundaries on our habits, boundaries on what we're allowing ourselves to experience. So back to the idea of this whole devotional, making our way back or forward from heart disease, right? Making our way forward. How do we get back to being the people we want to be? How do we get to moving forward with the new person we want to be when we're dealing with all these things? Now it's like, oh, we've got to take on nutrition and we've got to take on fitness. I've never, what? And okay, you want me to eat what? And I can't have the things I like. And gosh, I'm already stressed thinking about it. And then I got kids and my job and I'm so tired all the time. And I just feel like I don't even know what to expect. And nobody told me anything. What am I even supposed to talk to my doctor about? All of that. You're just spinning.
Yeah. All these things seem to be overwhelming.
Well, they are.
And just how you're asking yourself, how can I do this? How can I let go of this stress? Right. How can I let go of my past? That's just something. Isn't that just something that people say, right?
Yeah. So,
but again, but God, you're never going to have that but God moment if you continue to hold on to that. You continue to just grip on when we're saying, but what about this? But we're giving all these buts except but God. Remembering who he is and who you are in him. Right.
Well, and so that picture I just painted, I know that heart disease is different than other things in that you have to face your mortality. It's kind of much bigger than other things, maybe. But what about if you have kids? You had kids. Did you know how to have kids before? Did you know how to go through labor? Did you know how to go through pregnancy? Did you know how to go through being a new dad? Did you know how to go through puberty, the living hell we all have to go through before we go through it? Talk about having a new body and a new reality and a new you. And you're just like, who's this gross, sweaty person? Like, what's happening to me? And all the things we go through as humans. I'm bringing up like some real stuff because we go through new things all the time. We go through hard things all the time. And my argument or my challenge to you in dealing with heart disease is tell me you've never been through anything challenging. And I'll say, all right, hands up. I guess you've never been through anything challenging before. So you're clearly lost and need help understanding how to do anything. That is not true for 99% of the people. 99.999% of people have been through something hard. If you're an adult, you've been through something hard. Yeah. We all go through hard changes and shifts and things in our lives. And a lot of people I talk to have been through things way harder than heart disease because they were brought up with abuse, trauma, deaths of their parents, whatever. I mean, a lot of stuff. Okay. And in fact, we're interviewing somebody on our other show coming up next month who he says that the reason why he was able to get through heart disease so successfully, mentally and emotionally speaking, is because he'd been through so much crap growing up. Like that prepared him for dealing with this. And that's what I'm saying is not saying, well, you should have been prepared. That's not what I'm saying. My whole goal when I help people overcome something hard is pointing back to the hard things that they've been in before and going, you did that. How'd you do that? How'd you do this? What about this thing? What about the things you do automatically without thinking about it? We have these built-in things inside of us to overcome hard things as humans. It is in us. Mm-hmm. But when something's a new version of adversity, it's a new version of something hard. We don't understand how to navigate it specifically and particularly in that case. We throw everything out the window that we know about overcoming something hard, and all of a sudden we have no idea what we're doing and we're spinning. And what we need to do is two things. One, remember who we are with adversity and what we've been through and what we've overcome. What tools and resources and thought patterns and things have you done in the past when you had to overcome something hard? You've done it before. You can do it again. And number two is but God. When you're dealing with all these things, it says God shows up, right? In these moments when we're trying to figure it out, when we're weighing the pros and cons, when we're trying to figure out how to walk in the darkness, when we're trying to change all our habits, when we're spinning around in that situation that I just painted for you. That's when God shows up and has that but God moment with you and says, hey, we got this. I'm here. Remember? I've been through these other situations with you. Remember what I did in the Bible with so-and-so? Remember what I did with you last year? Remember what I did with your mom, 10 years ago? Remember all the stories you've heard? And maybe none of that's true. Maybe you're just starting. You have no idea. You're just here because you just felt drawn to this and you just don't know what to do about your faith because you're struggling with it, or you've never had faith before and you need it now because you're facing this. God is bigger than all of it. Anybody, I could bring a multitude of people on here to talk to you, and including us, to attest that God moves in ways that I've never been able to understand. Right. And it's always beautiful. It's always bigger than me. It's always better than what I would have done. And it's always peaceful and joyful and secure. And it gets me to the other side of a situation. It doesn't mean that I'm not in the situation. It doesn't mean I'm not in the storm. I'm just in a safe boat. Yeah. And I am not the one driving it.
You brought up something that I think we need just bring a little clarity. I mean, it may seem simple to us, but maybe we need to explain it. We're in one moment we're talking about putting the past you and everything and discarding that person, letting go of that person.
Letting go of the things we need to let go of.
Yeah. Right. And moving forward in this new life, this new direction. Mm-hmm. Yet at the same time, we're saying we need to reflect on the past. We need to use the past for our future. So how that sounds like we're talking at both sides of our mouth. And I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm saying this wrong, how I see
Okay.
I'm sorry. How I see it, the difference being is, look, you may have failed. You may have made boneheaded decisions, made some mistakes. Let those mistakes, those failures, catapult you. What do you have to learn from it?
Yep.
What can you take from that and turn it around and make it something positive moving forward with? How can you take that? It might be a part of you, but if it's going to be a part of you,
it should be a new part.
It should be a new part of you that you've improved on. You've become a new person. You've learned, well, I'm not going to do that again. So if I'm not going to do that again, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do opposite of that. Or because of that moment, I know I am stronger. I have let that catapult me to this new life, this new approach, this new routine, these new habits, rather than going to the past and reflecting on the past and staying there, romanticizing it.
Yep.
Even in shame, even in guilt. We hold on to shame and guilt like a blanket. We let it envelop us.
Yeah.
Right? And that is what I'm saying. That is where the past, that past us, we need to let go. We need to discard the blanket. We need to get far away from those things that will envelop us, that will that gravity of the circumstances of our past, the gravity of who we used to be. Don't let it take you in and keep you there.
Well, you talk about holding on to the problem, you hand it to God, and then you grab it back.
Yeah.
So that's what we're doing when we hand it to God and we say, here. Why would we give it to God? Well, two reasons. One is, well, he asks us to, but one is that he takes the burden off of us, but also then he does something with it. He, in us, turns it into something good, something productive, something positive, something that grows us. And that's what we're saying is by giving it to God, you're doing all of those things. You're saying, you know what, God, look at all that stuff I did and that person I used to be and this, broken, confused person and this bitter, angry person or whatever. I'm going to give that person to you. Can you do something with that? Because I can't. I couldn't and I still can't. And I don't really want to hang on to it. It's like the difference between a wound and a scar. A wound still hurts. It's still making us sick. It's still, you can't touch it. You're like, don't, and you're protecting it. You're very protective over, like an animal, don't get away from me. I have this wound. A scar is just a reminder of the strength you have and what's changed you and what you've been through. A scar doesn't hurt anymore. We don't look at it we don't dwell on it. We don't protect it. It's just a thing. It's just there. It's just what happened. And we've moved on and we've changed and we've become better for it. Right.
Yeah.
And we've adjusted our life around the fact that it happened, but in a forward momentum type of way. Does that make sense? Right. So we've adjusted and adapted to maybe a new life because of that scar, but in a way that's not a wound. God has taken that and turned it into something good and something better. But that doesn't happen if we hold on to it. And when you hold on to it, that's how you stay there because you're holding on to it. You can't move past it and hold on to it at the same time. You cannot. You can't physically go over and attach yourself to something and then also move past it. You're either connected to it or you're past it, one or the other. And so there's so many things. So moving past things when we're dealing with heart disease or something like heart disease, moving forward and changing into this new person, having this new day, this new version of ourselves, we have to get up and we have to walk away from some things. We have to walk away from old thought patterns, old relationships, old ways of dealing with our relationships. Maybe you don't walk away from the relationship. You walk away from the way you're dealing with it, who you are in the relationship. Maybe the person and you both say, all right, this needs to get better. This needs to be new. We're both on board. This is what we're going to do. And things shift and they change and they improve. It's a decision that we make in every part of our lives when we want to grow and be something and do something new and become the person that we want to be. So no matter what we said today, please take away that you always have the decision in your hands to become the person you want to be, with heart disease, without heart disease, with some other kind of disease, no disease even in the conversation. You always have the option to become who you want to be with God, and especially with God. Okay? So that lack of control, that feeling like your world is out of control, is one of the biggest reasons why people go, why I can't get back. How do I get back from this? Because I feel like I don't have control over anything. Begin with what you do have control over.
Mhm.
Nobody said or promised you in life that you would ever have control over everything. That is just not real. It's not real. And by the way, not good, because we would never want to have control over everything, or then we wouldn't have but God. So we have control over what God gives us control over, which is ourselves and our reaction, our response to life, to Him, to others, to our disease.
Yeah.
And that's what we need to focus on.
And, that's really something, what you just said, coming from you, because you struggle with that control issue.
Yeah. Because
right?
I need to fix, and I need to, nurture and take care of and make it better.
Especially when you were younger, right? When you were younger.
Yeah.
It was.
Oh, yeah. I've definitely gotten a lot better with all of that.
But it wasn't something that you changed. It changed overnight. These are things that you had to practice
over and over
and over,
year after year.
And it was okay.
Mm-hmm.
That was the process. Sometimes we want to condemn ourselves because we think, well, we're never going to get rid of this habit. We're never going to be the different. Then that's when those words come out. The enemy speaks into our mind, and we actually speak it out our mouth, saying, I guess we'll always be this way.
I guess this is just who you are.
This is who I am. This is I tried that. It didn't work. Mm-hmm. Yes, it did. Remember when you took one step forward? Remember when you took one step forward towards that change and what God did in your life, and you saw the clarity, and you had that moment. Don't ignore that. Don't say no to God's gift. God gave you this gift, this present, like CL said, of today. Don't let some lie tell you when you screw up or you fall back into old habits, telling you that you're never going to do this. It's part of the process. A lie.
Yep.
It's just another layer.
What would we tell our kids if they go, well, I'm never going to get good at this? What do we tell our kids?
Yeah, what do we tell our kids?
Every time. If you don't have kids, what do you tell your friends? What do you tell your students if you're a teacher? What do you tell people in general, nieces and nephews, whatever, when they're just like, oh, I'm a screw up. I'm never going to get there. I mean, people, we think about this as people. We innately encourage and have hope. We innately, when it's somebody else, we're like, oh, no, you can do it. You can do it. You're going to get there. You just have to keep going. But when it's us, we're like listening to those lies. We're never going to get there. It's like your kids when they grow. When it's been a week, did you see them grow this week?
Nope.
They did, though, and we know it because science. We fed them way too much food.
They can't fit in those shoes anymore.
And their clothes don't. Yeah, exactly. And you're like, how did this happen in 1 week? But but I digress. So it's like that. It's like we don't realize we're growing until suddenly a year goes by and we're like, wow, I really pushed. And it happened. I really changed. And God has done so many things in my life. And I'm not trapped by these emotions anymore. And I've got this amazing group of people around me who I can talk to, who have helped me work through these emotions, who have shown me that I'm not alone. I've seen people go through these things when they have a support system, when they have the determination to move forward and to let God do what He does best.
Right.
But they have to make a choice. And that's the thing. I think we're here to say, how do you make it out of heart disease? You make a choice. You make a choice to want it. You make a choice to control what you can control. You make a choice to always be moving forward, and you make a choice to let God lead that fight. And it's your choice.
Okay, so what are I was just thinking, what practical things can we do to help us not fall back into those old thought patterns? Look, and romanticize the past us.
Mhm.
What things can we do? A lot of times in our coaching, in our course, what we teach is the not to do list. One of the things that we have is to create a not to do list
Instead of a to-do list.
And why do I bring that up? Because when we don't identify those triggers, those things that lead us to the stress, that lead us back down that path of our old habits, we don't identify those things. We don't know how to address them. You have to write them down. You have to figure out, what is it that is holding you back? What are those things in your life that are those time suckers? Maybe time. Yeah. I know time was one of my stress points. I felt like to this day, there's things that I need to complete in a day, and I get stressed because I know that if I don't stay busy, if I don't continue to do all these things, I'm not going to complete my tasks. And that's very important that I complete them today. But I don't identify that there's also things in my day that are sucking up the time in my life that it's causing that stress. That's just an example. Maybe I'm hanging out with some people that are just negative in my life. Okay. Maybe it's something I'm listening to. Maybe it's something I'm doing every day. Identify those things. And then once you identify those things, you can figure out ways that you're going to not do them.
Yeah. I mean, do a self-audit of yourself, of your life. Where am I at right now? That's something that we teach people a lot is this clarity exercise. Right. Where am I at right now is what you're saying. What does everything look like now? Be honest with yourself.
Take responsibility.
This isn't condemning yourself.
Don't pass the buck. Yeah.
Just write down a list of where am I at? Where's my life at? What do things look like? What do my relationships look like? Okay. This is it. But by the way, we all have those moments in our life. You're not alone. We all have moments where we could write down a whole bunch of garbage and be like, this is great. But we're writing it down because we don't want it to be that way. We're writing it down because we want to move forward. We want to change. So how do you make it out, right? With heart disease, you write it down. Then you say, well, where do I want it to be? Where do I want it to be in a year? So if I was a year from now looking back and I had the best year ever, what would that look like? And go through each scenario that you wrote down, each situation, each part of your life. Write down, where do I want it to be? What's ideal? And don't mess around. Like, what is ideal? What's my ideal day look like? And then the next step, what you do is you write down, all right, well, what capabilities do I need to do those things? Do I need to take a training? Do I need to get a coach? Do I need to go to a therapist? Do I need couples counseling? Do I need to change my diet? Do I need to change, incorporate a fitness regimen? Do I need to change my medication? Do I need to change my doctor? What do I need to do?
Yeah.
And so what are the things that I don't have going on now that I need to learn how to do? Okay. And then you write down steps that you're going to take. All right. What's the plan? What is the plan moving forward? What steps can I take today? What steps can I take in the next week? What steps can I take in the next month? Write some stuff down. It doesn't have to be big. It could be very small. Hey, I'm going to stop drinking soda this week. And then next week, I'm going to start incorporating some greens somewhere in my, or hey, maybe I'm going to go for a walk with Annie. Annie Wright in our free group, our free heart disease support group on Facebook. She goes on a Zoom walk every day.
Well, not every day.
No, 3 days a week. Sorry. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Sorry, Annie.
Did you know you're doing it every day?
Every day. Do it every day, Annie. It's 3 days a week. Sorry. Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And that's at 5:30 Mountain Time. And she does this walk, right? And she's like, everyone come with me on a Zoom call. Yeah. Let's do it. Maybe it's a walk with Annie. Maybe it's just getting into a group of people and telling your story. I know so many people don't even tell their story because they're holding on to it. They're embarrassed. They feel alone. They feel like they're the only one. You are not the only one. Come on. Heart disease affects more than half of the planet. Yeah. So, it's something that, what is the thing you're going to do moving forward? These are practical things you can do to start the process and the progress of moving forward when you're dealing with something as big as heart disease. You don't eat the elephant in one bite. You do it one bite at a time.
Yeah.
Okay. 1% better every day. And it may feel like you're rowing in the middle of a lake and you can't see either side, but you're still rowing. So you're still moving forward. You just can't tell how fast and how far, but keep going. And you're going to start seeing land and you're going to start seeing your progress. Just know that. It's just like I said.
Movement, right?
Yes.
Just staying in movement, because once you're still, that's stagnation.
Yep.
Stagnation breeds disease. It breeds decay
and depression.
And yeah.
So this has been great today. I think this is stuff that, I mean, people have absolutely been talking to us about lately. I think this is something God's trying to say to us and to you. I feel like there's a lot of information swirling around the internet all the time, and doctors' offices and friends and families, conversations about all kinds of things with heart disease, but none of this stuff is getting addressed. People are feeling alone. They're feeling misunderstood.
Mm-hmm.
You're feeling confused, forgotten, abandoned, alone. Okay. Isolated.
Right.
And we're here to help you pull yourself out of that and know that there is hope and there's a way out.
Yeah, absolutely. Last week we were talking all about laughter, right?
Yep.
And that was a lot. That was really good. It was really revealing. And then we go from that to this. And why do we? Is this a hard shift? Is it related? I think it is, because a lot of times we get so caught up with who we used to be. Maybe the person we used to be couldn't see the joy in life. They couldn't see
past their pain.
Past the pain.
Yeah.
And when we say you need to learn to laugh again, you need to do all these things, and you're saying to yourself, that's impossible. I can't do that. Mm-hmm. You can't? Is that coming from the new you, or is that coming from the old you? Mm-hmm. Laughter, what we talked about last week, was that medicine, that salve that goes over these wounds.
Yep.
That produces or promotes healing.
Yeah.
And sometimes we need to really understand the thoughts or the things that come out of our mouth. Who's that coming from?
Yep.
And is this holding me back? I want to be that person. I want to be full of joy. I see that person that I want to be, and that person's happy. I don't know how to get there. Well, make that list. Figure out what is holding you back from that person. And then once you identify these things, what can we do to move forward? And if you need help with that, breaking that down and trying to, once you identify those things and you don't know how to give it up, let us know.
Let us know. Always reach out to us. If you need help walking through some of these things that we talk about, if you need help, it's what we do. So absolutely reach out.
If I don't know, ask her.
And if I don't know, you can ask him. Yeah. And it's something that we would love to help you with. And absolutely 100% do not hesitate to reach out to one of us, DM us, or you can comment on this broadcast. Make sure that you reach out for help, and you don't do this alone, because you don't have to do it alone. And there's definitely a community of people waiting to rally around you.
Yeah. Yes,
even you, and be able to help you with this, because there is hope and there's help.
Exactly. Hey, so look, I hope you guys got something out of today's devotional. If you did, please hit like and share. We're going to be here tomorrow and the rest all the way up to Saturday, sharing what God has to say to us this week. And so we would love for you to share this and to show up tomorrow. And
absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah, join us tomorrow. And if you're watching from our YouTube channel, we're broadcasting live there as well. Hey, thank you so much for joining us. And I just want you to just go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you haven't done that. So that way you can get notified. Hit that bell icon so you'll get the notifications for sure on whether we go live or we add content to our YouTube channel. Make sure that you're following us there and commenting and liking and having conversations with us, because that's where we really want to get into it with you guys, not just here, but in the comments, because we want to know where you're at, where you're coming from, and what what you've got for us today. So
Absolutely.
thank you so much.
All right, guys, have a good day. We will see you tomorrow.
God bless.
Bye.